Greetings to all of our viewers from around the world. This is Tigrai TV English service. I'm Saplor Glema and I'm here with the news for the hour. The past 16 months of conflict have been marked by gruesome human rights violations, including massacres, sexual violence, and the deliberate destruction of private and public property. The State Council for the Government of Tigray has established a commission of inquiry on the Tigray genocide after it called the war genocidal. In his interview, the commissioner of the commission, Yamane Zarai, says the main task of the commission is to document damages, investigate all crimes, and bring perpetrators to justice. Abil Tsagabu has more on that.
The war on Tigray has been marked by unspeakable atrocities ranging from the arbitrary and mass killings of civilians to the use of sexual violence as a weapon of war, amounting to genocide. The government of Tigray has therefore established a commission to inquire on the gross violations of human rights committed in Tigray. In his interview with Tigray television, Yamane Zarai, the commissioner for the Commission of the Inquiry to the Genocide on Tigray, says the main objective of the commission is to conduct a research so as to get a full picture of the damage and to investigate the international crimes committed during the war on Tigray.
So the commission is established first to have a clear scientific research to gather the data on the damage of the war and also to investigate so that we can identify which crimes are crimes committed as a genocide, which crimes are crimes as war crimes, and so on. Secondly, those things should be documented clearly so that we can use these data for reconstructing and rehabilitating Tigray. We cannot continue as we have now. We have to reconstruct, we have to rehabilitate the different damages that are followed by the war. Thirdly, those documented data should be used for justice purpose.
The commissioner said the commission was established following the decision of the government of Tigray to investigate the atrocities committed against the people of Tigray and hold the perpetrators accountable.
We need to bring justice. To do that, we need to have an independent institution, and that independent institution these days is the commission. So the commission is an independent institution, an independent commission accountable to the Parliament of Tigray.
He also added that international crimes should be addressed by the international community and asked all partners to join hands with the Commission in order to bring the perpetrators to justice.
The crimes committed in Tigray are international crimes, so it is also up to the international community to deal with such issues. We all know that the international community has legal and moral responsibility to protect the people in every corner of the world. We have to be clear first at what has happened. Secondly, perpetrators should come to justice, to the arena of justice. There should be accountability. The accountability is at least to bring justice to the victims. Secondly, perpetrators should be punished, should learn from their mistakes. So the international community should help us to clearly investigate this issue, then to bring this issue into the justice arena if possible, at the international level, if not to help us to bring such perpetrators to the local arenas.
It's been 5 months since Letta Sambet has been admitted at Aida Referral Hospital, the largest hospital in Tigray. She had a stay with Tigray television and expressed her suffering due to the depletion of medical supplies and food stocks with her shaking voice as follows. Haile Gabru has more.
Letta Sambet Haile was in 5th grade during the outbreak of the coronavirus pandemic discontinued in 2020 that discontinued education in Tigray. Today, at the tender age of 16, Letta Sambet finds herself crippled from serious disease and further worsened by the lack of food and medication. Letta Sambet was able to reach Aida Comprehensive Specialized Hospital almost 5 months, but lack of basic medical supplies has means that she, like many others, is not able to receive much needed care.
ممهر سو قلنا سي فزيدني سو يقعدوا إرم طانتي على كدنس أداو إرمينو أقاري الإرفرف سنو.
Priest Hailo Hagos, Letesenbet's father says his daughter was able to receive proper medical treatment due to the destruction of health facilities in their area.
Enemy soldiers left nothing behind in our village. They only left behind the rocks. I am sure that they left that behind because they wouldn't carry it with them. The barbarism was unbelievable. They took all our belongings.
Priest Hail says he had traveled a long way hoping to get treatment for his daughter, but he was disappointed to learn that doctors here have very little equipment within which they could provide treatment.
We have been told that there is no medication. The only thing that's kept us going is hope. Hope that we may someday be able to get medication. It's almost been 5 months and she has not shown any improvement.
Dr. Haftahailu, pediatrician at Eider Hospital, says Letesenbet's condition further deteriorated due to lack of proper medical follow-up.
She has severe pain. We are not able to get medication to help ease the pain. She is unable to follow up with physiotherapy because her body is in a lot of pain.
The all-encompassing Sijon Tigrai that has blocked food aid and medical supplies from coming into Tigray has left millions in crisis, which nearly 4 million people, including children and mothers, in dire need of access to medical care.
The 8-month-long occupation of Tigray by the allied Ethiopian and Eritrean forces was characterized by looting and the deliberate destruction of health facilities. Our reporters have visited a health center in the district of Asgada in northwestern zone that has been completely destroyed by these forces. Salome Tigrai.
The deliberate destruction of health facilities in Tigray was a key feature of the allied Ethiopian and Eritrean forces during their 8 months of occupation. This, in addition to an 8-month-long siege that has blocked the entry of medical supplies and other essential items, has led to the devastation of a health system built over 40 years of hard work. We visited Adaga Habrat Health Center in the northwestern zone in Tigray that has been completely destroyed. Residents of the district say the destruction of the health center has meant death to several mothers and children in the area.
This health center is simply where people get treated. It has nothing to do with politics. But they have looted children's medications and everything else that was here. Then they burnt what they could not take. They took as much as they could and then burnt what was left.
This health center was not only serving people from this vicinity, but from other 5 vicinities as well. Antenatal care and delivery services were provided here. It was also a center for vaccination of children. Now it has been destroyed. They have burnt it. There's nothing left there. No documents, no medications, nothing.
Mothers use it to receive the appropriate care and deliver in health facilities. But after the destruction of this health center, 5 or 6 mothers have given birth on the streets. Some have lost their babies, and some others their lives. The worst that happened was mothers giving birth on the street and eating leaves as they had nothing else to eat.
Avrat Abrihille is a pharmacist in Adaga Habrat Health Center. She says that the allied forces have taken all they can and burned the rest, leaving the health center out of function.
These were fridges. There were better ones, but they looted those, and they burnt what they could not take. This is an autoclave. We used it to sterilize gauzes and scissors, but it has been made out of use now. This used to be full of medications. This was a place where mothers who had given birth used to clean up. All of it has been destroyed.
In early February, the World Health Organization had stated that an estimated 3.9 million people in Tigray are in dire need of medical assistance. This number had risen from 2.3 million in the first half of December.
The use of rape as a weapon of war has been one of the many horrific features of the ongoing conflict in Tigray. We spoke to one of the survivors of sexual violence in Adwa, central Tigray, that says she was attacked by Eritrean soldiers and developed serious uterine diseases. Wintakidana has the details. The ongoing conflict in Tigray has resulted in widespread sexual violence used as a weapon of war by the Ethiopian government and its allies. The following is a story of a woman, resident of Adwa, and a mother of 3 children. She is one of the many Tigrayan women that are victims of the sexual violence by Ethiopian and Eritrean soldiers. She describes her story as follows.
ዕለት 11 ሕዳር ግን 2013 ሕዳር 10 ሰዓት አጋምሸት ማለት እዩ በቃ ከቢድ ኩናት ኮይኑ ተራ
It was in November 2020 at about 4 p.m. There was an intense crossfire in our neighborhood, the kind I have never seen before. In the morning, people were running to save themselves, but I couldn't escape because my husband was disabled. My children are also underage. I couldn't carry them all, and I couldn't leave them alone. How can I leave them behind? So I decided to stay in my house. Then, soldiers entered into our compound and started shooting and told us to get out of the house. We opened the door and let ourselves out, but my husband couldn't get out because of his disability. The soldiers kept hitting him. I tried to explain that he is unable to move, but they never stopped. My 5-year-old daughter stood in front of her dad, telling them to stop, but the soldiers shouted at her and ordered her to give her hands. She explains the perpetrator's identity and how their action affected her and her family's life. She also said that the perpetrators told her that they were ordered to commit such crimes to Tigrayan women. There were 2 of them. They asked me where Debrecen is, and I told them that I had no idea. Then one of them pulled me inside the house. He searched the house and he asked me to hand him over any gold in the house. I said I don't have one, but you can take my wedding ring. He puts his hand inside my uterus and starts searching for gold. I started to bleed, but he continues to add things into my uterus. I did not stop begging him. However, the soldier started to kick me and hit me with his gun. Once he threw me into the wall. I lost my consciousness. Because of what they've done to me, I am now unable to move, and if I do, I start bleeding. My eyes couldn't see if they're exposed to sunlight. I have a problem in my ears too. I couldn't even get treated because there is no medication due to the siege. The crimes abrupted her life and put her family's life in danger as she was physically and emotionally hurt. The following are her words to the international community. If the world still believes in justice, those soldiers and their superiors who ordered them to commit such crimes should be held accountable. They should be condemned so such crimes won't take place in other parts of the world. Otherwise, history will criticize the silence of the world to those crimes. For nearly 8 months now, Tigray has been under siege that has blocked all basic services, including banking and telecommunication service, and it has led to the termination of pension salary. Our reporters spoke with pensioners who have found themselves in a dire situation as they have been denied their pensions since the start of the blockade. Kabramul Debrhan has more.
The all-encompassing siege on Tigray that has lasted for over 8 months have had a devastating impact on civil servants across the region. Pensioners who have been working as civil servants couldn't feed themselves and their families as a result of the ongoing siege. They have been also exposed to severe starvation as their salaries have been halted by the Ethiopian government. Gabramariam Gazain, a resident of Maqala, has been working for the Commercial Bank of Ethiopia for 40 years before he retired 4 years ago. Now he is unable to provide for the 9 members of his family.
I am the one that supports 9 members of my family. I use it to feed them through an income I get from my pension. But now, I am in a very difficult situation. I haven't been able to get my pension for the past 9 months.
Tafara Garameskar is also a pensioner that had worked for the Bureau of Civil Service for 35 years and retired 9 years ago. He said that he and his family are on the brink of starvation as his salary has been terminated for the past 9 months. The retirees also added that many other pensioners are dying due to lack of food and medication.
I
am the only provider to the 4 of my family members. I also support other people other than my family. Basically, 4 members of my family are relying on me. However, now we are in desperate situation. We are at the brink of starvation. There are a number of retirees who are dying because they couldn't afford to pay for their health care bills. Many former colleagues and neighbors of ours who are now pensioners are in dire situation because they haven't got anyone to take care of them. We are alive for now, but if the siege goes on, we won't be able to survive.
The pensioners also highlighted that the Ethiopian government is deliberately acting against the laws and regulations of the International Labour Organization, and they called on the international community to take a decisive action to help the pensioners that are suffering due to the termination of their salaries.
Internationally, it is unlawful to terminate a pension. If any pensioner has committed a crime, they could be sued for that. But their retirement fund cannot be halted. This is an international law that works for the whole world. It can't be violated by anyone. If a person who has been working for the government got retired, they have the right to get a pension. But the Ethiopian government has violated that. They aren't giving us our pension. I call on the international community to help us put this violation to an end.
Since the start of the conflict, reports of massacres and atrocities have become a norm. Our reporters have been to Maiqanatal district in central zone Tigray to document horrific atrocities committed by Ethiopian forces and their allies. Haile Gabru.
Rahawa Kilkai, who has given false name for security reasons, is a resident of Lachinai, one among the local vicinities of Maiqanatal district. She was raped by the barbaric Eritrean troops on March 15, 2021. Rahawa couldn't scream out for help while she was being raped for the fact that she had hard of hearing and complications with speaking. Beriha Haile, pseudonym, Rahawa's mother said that she was out of home the whole day at the time her daughter was being raped by the Eritrean troops taking turns. Beriha added that her daughter is in shock and psychologically traumatized.
They wore masks and eyeglasses so as not to be identified. My neighbors told me that, while one among Eritrean troops was raping her, the other was keeping out. I knew nothing of it until a couple of hours later. I wasn't back from the grain mill I went to. When I came back home and found Rahwa fainted on the ground, she was unable to move. The pain I felt was deep cutting as a mother. It was the saddest day of my life. She now has phobia with new people. She is suffering from post-trauma.
Azif Saha is a 1-year-old child who lives in Salam, one of the local vicinities found under the Maiqanatal district in central administrative zone of Tigray. Azif's mother and her grandmother were killed by the artillery bombarded by the Eritrean invader forces. Unfortunately, she was hit and her left arm had to be amputated. Fasaha Gavra Mikhail, Azif's father, said that he has lost his wife, his mother and his niece following the bombardment of the artillery on civilian residents.
On November 13, 2020, horror would befall our family. The Eritrean troops were storming our village with artillery for an entire day. At the time, we tried to hide ourselves in different places. However, my wife, my mother, and my niece and other 12 civilians couldn't escape from the horrific massacre. As you can see, my daughter has lost her arm to one of the bombardments. There were also other 11 people who were severely wounded. My mother and my wife were buried that night. My daughter got medical treatment in Zana, one of the other districts located in central zone of Tigray, 3 months later.
On top of the mass killings and gang rapes, Eritrean troops have been carrying out an encompassing and systematic destruction over the agricultural sites. Farming tools have been looted and burned. Farmers from the Maiqanatal district, vicinity of Lachinai, speaks of the untold cruelty committed on them by the Abiy Ahmed's government and its allied forces through man-made starvation.
As farmers, what they did to us is unspeakable. We couldn't start harvesting. They burnt our haystacks. All our belongings was turned into ashes by these forces. Not only mine, but also my brother's and my father's possessions as well. What the Eritrean troops did to me is like never seen before. I have never experienced and heard such a thing in my entire life. They looted and burnt everything I have ever worked for. To make things worse, they burnt my house and made it their camp. They left me with nothing. Everything was taken to Eritrea. They took all my belongings. They also used my house as their toilet.
Gabra Teklehaimanot is the administrator of Maiqanatal district, who states that over 136 civilians were killed and other 56 innocent civilians were victims of disability at a district level following the unjust war declared on Tigray. He added that families of the victims were prohibited from burying their loved ones for almost a week.
Abiy Ahmed's forces, along with his counterpart Isaias Afwerki's troops, have committed gruesome atrocities in Maiqanatal district. Civilian infrastructures have been destroyed. Specifically speaking, banks, health facilities and schools were looted and destroyed by the invading forces of the Eritrean government. The total damage at district level estimates to over 182.2 million birr.
And that wraps up today's English news, and thank you for tuning in. Next up, we have Direct Talk with Yamana Zarai. Do stay tuned.